Who are we? That was rather abrupt. Hello and welcome to Sugar, Silk and Stretch, a unique boxing podcast brought to you exclusively by Ace Podcast Nation. My name's Ben Doughty.
I'm Gary Stretch.
And I can see the Silk trying to get in, but he's going to have to wait because we are delighted collectively to be joined by former British flyweight and world WBO champion, Welsh legend, highly unsung hero, Robbie Regan. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, very good, Ben. It's a pleasure to be on the show, especially with Gary and Silk.
Yeah, there he is. That was perfect timing. Well done.
How you doing, guys?
You're going to have to sort that volume out, Silk.
Oh, you can't hear me?
No, we can hear you. You sound like the Smash Robots. Remember them?
Yeah.
Oh, no, not again. Okay, hold on. Let me just take this down. I'm sorry.
Sorry about this, Robbie.
That's
They
okay.
say never work. They say never work with children, animals, or ex-prize fighters.
See, Ben?
That's fucked, mate. You need go out and come back in, mate.
Sugar, Silk, and Darth Vader.
Sugar, Silk, and
I hear you
Star.
now. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
That's it.
You're great. You're perfect. Hello, Michael.
Oh, I've been called that before. How you doing, Robbie?
Hiya, Mike. It's great
What's up,
speaking to
Sam?
you, my friend.
Everything's good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
You look
So,
great. I have
gentlemen-
to say hello to my esteemed partners over here, Gary
Good.
Stretch and Sugar.
I'd like
Well-
to just tell you this on this wonderful day that I love you, Silk, and I'm happy to see you.
Do you know, Silk, we did an episode with you and me physically together, seated on the same couch in Atlantic City. And now we're doing the London version. One thing you've noticed is that I didn't need to shove Gary into position to get him aligned the way I wanted him, seated in all my control freak narcissism. You may have noticed that.
Well, you may be. I guess you're the lowest common denominator between us. I guess is that what it means?
Yes, I suppose so.
He said I'm slightly easy to work with.
Yeah, it's the film background, the movie background. Gentlemen, before we focus rightly so on Robbie, our special guest this evening, I would like to for the next 10 minutes, I'd like to take a little look ahead to the big light heavyweight clash in Quebec on Saturday night that pits the undefeated Artur Beterbiev versus Scouser Callum Smith. In honour of the special guest's first kind of privilege, I'd like to ask Robbie first for your thoughts on the fight and how you see it unfolding, champ.
Yeah, it was a tough ask, for Callum. We all know about Beterbiev, about his punching power is phenomenal. Callum's a big hitter himself, so you got to give him outside punches chance, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Do you see him outboxing Smith though, with the length of Smith and the height reach?
Well, I think you got to use all his advantages, haven't he? Smith got to try to use all, like I say, you got the reach on him. But it's going to be very hard to stay away from Beterbiev. He to cut the ring down. He's a great fighter.
He does appear to be like very stationary. Like he applies a slow kind of pressure. So and he likes to. I mean, he controls whatever part of the ring he's in, whether it's center ring or against the ropes. But he's also capable of backing up when people take the fight to him as well, and become somewhat of a counterpuncher. I just wonder about sometimes he appears a little bit stiff, and when you're stiff, you know what it's like. It's hard to take it when you're stiff. It's hard to take the punch. You kind of have to have that elasticity and the ability to ride the punch, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Callum is a puncher, right? He's fast. He has quick release.
It's funny. Me and Ben, we went to the betting shop today for fun. I put a 50 on Callum Smith. I wanted to put it as a knockout, but the odds were not good. But believe it or not, the odds for him to knock Beterbiev out is much lower than it is to beat him. So I do see the fight not going the full distance. I actually, strangely enough, I've got a feeling. Well, I maybe it's a romanticism. I want Callum to knock him out, and I think he's got the capability, and he can get caught. And I think also time and age could catch up with him, but it would have to be the right night. But me and Ben spent the day together, and we were surfing some stuff. we found like 10 interviews with 10 real legitimate real guys who sparred with Hopkins, with Triple G, with everybody. They all say Berta Bioff is a freak of nature with power. Like they've never been. A guy said when he hit me, it was like being on an aeroplane, and the G-force that pulled. He said it was. I woke up on the floor.
Yeah.
So he must have crazy power. So hopefully something's a little on the slide, and our boy can do it. But it's like you say, it's a big ask.
It is a big ask.
You know,
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Robbie.
I think Callum's best chance is going to be in the first maybe 4, 5, 6 rounds. I think the longer the fight goes, I think it's all going to be better for Evan, to be honest with you.
Could you see him coming out and just going like balls to the wall kind of thing, and just doing everything he can to get him out within the
you know, maybe hopefully catch him cold or whatever. But like I said, the longer the fight goes, the more you're going to fancy Better Beef, even though he's a big favourite, and I fancy him to win from the start.
Yeah.
Some people are making a deal out of Better Beef's age. He'll be 39 in a couple of weeks' time. I believe it's the 21st of January, which in pugilistic terms is supposed to be old, but we're told he's very clean living, trains freakishly hard, you know, doesn't have any vices, is an devout Muslim, all the rest of it. So do you think that the age could be a factor, Robbie, or do you dismiss it?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't realise he was that old.
Yeah.
You know, age is just a number. You know, like you say, he's clean living. He lives for the sport. So I don't think age will be that big a factor, to be honest with you.
Silk thinks it's overrated. I know that for a fact. Silk doesn't go with your cliches about size is always an advantage, reach is always an advantage, age, you know, if you're aging of a certain place on the calendar, it means you're nearly shot. You don't go with that, do you, Michael?
No, I really don't believe that. Everyone's unique, and every fighter has their own way of doing it. And some fighters are better towards the end of their career than they were when they're younger. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They have all that youth and that energy and that vigor, but they don't have the ability to execute. They don't have that sense of timing. They don't have the comfort of seeing enough punches coming at them that they know how to defend. So what a fighter's prime is always up in the air. Yeah, it's always, that's why I think it's very individualistic. But this fight really interests me because Callum Smith, he fought Canelo before, right? And with Canelo, he did. Give me something on his performance. What did you think of his performance?
I'll tell you one thing that I can defend him on, and I think a big part of it, which may not have been discussed out of Callum's modesty, I think he was dead at the weight, and I think he very much had problems with weight, hence he moved up. And I think he looks far more better, more comfortable at this weight. So I people say his biggest test, he failed, possibly. The one thing you have to say is no matter how much he failed, a lot of great fighters have fought Canelo and have not lasted 12 rounds. He got to 12 rounds. He did the distance. He never really looked too much like he got hurt. But I think weight was an issue. And I think that with the new weight now, I think we're going to see a new and improved Callum Smith. So I think it'll be a better version. And I think also, like you say, I think he's learned a lot from that fight. He's working with Buddy McGirt now. I saw an interview where he said he just spent almost 18 months just working and learning and fixing the problems he had. And he said, if I could change it, I wouldn't have had a fight. I'm very comfortable with the time that I've spent, quality time in the gym, learning, getting my trade to where it should be. And so, and he thinks hopefully it's all going to come right on the night. And of course, in a few hours, we'll find out. But I have a feeling, Canelo, that weight was somewhat of an issue for him.
I think you're right about Buddy McGirt being a real, that could be the change. That could be the exact change that's needed in Callum Smith to see him realize a win.
Well, what's with your audio, Michael? You're echoing back.
No, I was okay before, right?
No, not really. It's been bugging me the whole time. It's not. I mean, it was untenable when you first got here. Now it's just vaguely irksome.
Now it's nineable. It was tenable, but now it's
turn
nineable.
it down to fix it.
I'm hearing Michael
How did you
Fine.
fix
I
it
am.
before? Whatever you did, do it a little bit more, and maybe it will be. Maybe it's a.
How's it now?
That's lovely.
That's lovely.
Talk some
Okay.
more.
All right. So it was the volume. It was up too high.
Just turn it down and a tad more.
A tad
And,
more? Okay.
Because you know what the problem is, Michael? The other podcasts, almost universally, are dull as fucking dishwater, and they've got nothing to back with us against or compete with us. The only thing they can get us on is the fact we're terrible, technically. That's the only thing they keep us down. They keep us all terrible.
Okay, so between the three of us, real quick, before we got to get to Robbie,
yes.
What are we calling? Or are we going to do that at the end of the show?
Knockout. But Smith for the win.
No, you bet on points. You put.
I did only did the bookies points because it was the odds.
He's changed his mind, Ben. Have he?
No. I said to Ben.
He's put a bet on at the bookies, but he's not going with that. He's
No.
That's fair.
No, the odds were terrible on knockouts, but on the odds to win on points was much better. So I said, "Fuck it, I'll do points."
Yeah.
So to try and get a win, because it wasn't even worth putting money on.
It was only 5-1 and 7-1. He's penny pinching as you like. It was 5-1 and 7-1. He's exaggerating.
Just for the win, yeah. So I put him to win on points. I got 7-1. So
that's, but he's going with stoppage.
I'm going with Smith to win for us. However that happens.
Okay.
I would love to see Smith to win. It'd be an huge upset, but I can't see him beating Beterbiev. I can't see it at all.
We've got Beterbiev over there. Michael, I am Beterbiev on points. I'm saying it'll be the first time he has to go the distance. I've got Beterbiev over the long route. What about you, sir?
Yeah, it's so hard for me because I don't know. I don't know the kid like that, so I got to go with what I know, and that's Beterbiev. You know what I mean? It's hard to bet him. Like you said, like you're talking about him aging all of a sudden in one fight. That would kind of have to happen. Off what I've seen.
I'm not saying overnight, but I have seen a minimum decline in this last fight. I didn't think he looked what he looked like before. So if that's a progression, a little bit more of a progression, I think Callum Smith has got the tools to beat him.
Well, you're right about that, because his last fight, I wasn't as impressed either. And he showed like there was some chinks in the armor there. You're absolutely right.
And I think we haven't seen the best of Callum Smith yet. So I think it could all come right on the night, and he could shock the world. And that's what I'm going to be romantic about and hope.
So Robbie doesn't have to come back on Sunday night, but the rest of us do. So let's be clear, so we don't have any arguments and people trying to call in a steward's inquiry. Gary says Smith by KO. Me and the Silk are both on Beterbiev, as is our special guest this week, Robbie Regan.
I say Smith.
I think Callum got the art to go to this.
If he wins, I still get the.
We have established that we only have to pick the right winner. We're not Ladbrokes. We're not William Hill.
I say Callum Smith left hook.
Okay. So listen, fellas, on the subject of our illustrious guest in the top right-hand corner there, I've interviewed Robbie twice before, so I'm gonna be a bit generous and sit back here and let you guys ask some of the questions that you want to ask and not hog the whole thing, because I know quite a bit about Robbie's highly decorated career. So whoever wants to kick off first, you take it.
I would ask a question because, and this is, I've had some confusion because not confusion. I've followed your career, and I'm a great big fan. I think you're brilliant fights. I thought you were amazing to watch, exciting. I thought you was like you had a mixture of McGuigan, Ricky Hatton, but you were smarter.
There was something slicker,
much more sophisticated than McGuigan.
And a bit flashier,
and more like you had that kind of pressure, but a little bit like Beterbiev. He puts pressure, but he's smart. You had this intellect that I think is underrated. But there was one thing. This is just an education for me. Your first amateur fight, was it for Wales?
Actually, the first time I boxed for Wales was in the Commonwealth Games. I wasn't picked, and then because a couple of African countries pulled out, they had to get some extra boxers, and I went away for the weekend down Porthcawl, and I'd been drinking for a few days, and then I was picked for the Commonwealth Games, and he rushed me up to Edinburgh then.
Because I had some crazy idea, because I was trying to work out your amateur career, and I thought that you had your debut fight in an international fight for Wales, but that's incorrect, right?
No, it's just the first time I boxed in Wales was in the Commonwealth Games. I think that's what the mix-up is with Ega.
And how old was you? When
17? 17, maybe 18.
First amateur, 17, 18?
Oh no, I was my first amateur fight was I was about 15.
15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Michael, one thing you don't know, but we're going to tell you this, and I'm going to send you the footage after the show. He did an exhibition with Joe Calzaghe when they were both still juniors. When Joe was a highly decorated, already 7 times or 6 times Welsh schoolboy champion, etc., etc. And Robbie and Joe did an exhibition in this really pokey little Welsh working men's club. You know, the really old school kind of smoker type shows.
Yeah.
And they boxed around, and the referee called it off because Robbie was doing very well, much half the size of Joe, obviously. And he was putting a bit of pressure on, taking it a bit seriously, maybe. And the referee pulled it after a round and said no, because Joe's boxing for Wales next week, you know, or England, so UK or whatever, GP. And so they called it off after a round. But it's fascinating footage, the young Robbie Regan versus the young Joe Calzaghe.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. Yeah, please definitely send it to me.
Absolutely shocked. He said, I thought it was much later. I said, no, they're babies, both of them.
It's amazing footage.
And Robbie's kind of, Joe's, playing it, flicking around, and Robbie's actually starts to ramp the heat up a bit. And I think the ref thought and they had no headgear, amateur, but no headgear. And the ref thought, this is not going where I want it to go. And he said, look, guys, he pulled it out, all the crowd's in disarray. And he says, look, this is an exhibition. They're not fighting each other. The different weights, and I'm calling it. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
And they pulled them both out. Yeah, it was great.
So Joe hurt me to the body. He did. He hurt me to the body. I didn't show it, but I thought, he got a little bit back now as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'd felt some heat from him, so you decided to turn up a little bit.
Yeah. I was established in the senior squad, and Joe just come into the senior squad, and so I think he felt he had something to prove.
Yeah. Well, fighter's pride is so only a trained eye, or pretty much even only the fighters really understand that dynamic, right? Like when you get in there with a fighter, you understand on a level that nobody could see watching, but you understand someone that intends to do you like evil, like that want to hurt you, and someone that's just there to box. You can tell the difference as soon as you get in the ring, or maybe even before then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I even knew then Joe was going to become the incredible fighter that he was.
Yeah. Do you ever feel, because of no guy around your weight, flyweight and bantamweight, has ever become as big a star as Joe Calzaghe was? I do bear in mind that Joe took a while to become a kind of mainstream name, because for many years he was kind of in the cold a little bit, although he was a world champion. It took a while before he blew up into a mainstream figure. But the fact, did it ever frustrate you, the fact that nobody of your kind of weight poundage ever becomes as big and successful and recognised and remunerated as that?
Well, you got to have the big fights as well to make you a big star. Like what happened to me when I had to retire, when I failed the brain scan. My number one contender actually at the time was Manny Pacquiao, and he went straight up into a super bantam, won the super bantamweight title. So Manny avoided me, didn't he?
Yeah. Would you have loved to have had that fight for your legacy?
Oh,
Robbie?
I would have loved it. I would love to have fought him, especially the payday.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Ronnie. Sorry. Describe yourself as a fighter. Were you? Who influenced you? Like, what was your?
My heroes, obviously, the Four Kings. Marvin was absolutely fantastic champion. Welsh legends like Howard Winston, Jimmy Wiles. Well, Ali for me was the greatest of all time, and obviously Sugar Ray Robinson, second to none.
And let me ask you, because you never styled yourself after them, but you admired them. Meaning, what does that mean? Like, you took their energy, or like, what did you learn off them, or did you not learn off them? You're happy having them as inspiration.
Well, like with watching Ali, is it and don't be it. So I learned that from Ali. Try not to get it as much as you can, and land your own punches.
Yes. I've always do you ever look at fights and did you take anything off anybody? Like I used to love the way Hagler used to throw his left and then come with that power right. So I ended up doing it in reverse. I throw the right and come with the power left. Were there any things like that that you would do off any fighters? You would grab any?
A lot of my body punching, and fight I studied in that time, and one of my other big heroes was Chavez. I thought he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I took the right hand from Hagler because I was a southpaw. I'm right-handed. I think Hagler's right-handed. Fights lefty.
Yeah, that's right.
But I took the thing where he throws the jab and then turns the shoulder and turns it almost and throws it again. It's
like jab, power jab.
Jab, and then it's almost like a right hand.
Yeah.
Because you switch the shoulders and then so you.
Is that the one with George Collins with, Gar? Was that the punch you with George Collins with?
Right hook, yeah.
That was lovely though, because you did it with your shoulder.
I started flicking. I watched him. Funny enough, I just saw a couple of his fights, and he used to catch a lot like this. So it was like ABC. I was very, very fast, and me and my trainer said, don't throw full speed because he'll never catch. So throw half speed, let him catch a couple of jabs. Yeah. So I threw half speed, he caught it. I threw half speed, he caught it, and then I just showed him, and he went like this. Right up. Yeah,
there is a tiny bit
beautiful when that stuff works.
There's a tiny bit of footage of that KO, because this is the only reason Gary's on the show today, in actual fact, and he obviously liked it so much he joined the company, as it were, like that fellow with the Remington microscreen, because he was. I was looking for a clip of Gary versus George Collins and said, has anybody got it, and then somebody tagged him, and he ended up saying there is a little clip on the preview of my fight with Eubank. They showed it in the build up to that particular fight. So
I think that's how I seen it, actually. I think that's how I seen it.
Yeah, and I put it on Facebook. Next thing is, I said to Gary, well, you know what, myself and Michael Elijah have got this podcast, so we'd love to have you on the show. Gary said, yeah, okay, give me a call tomorrow. We did it, and then the next thing he's like, "Well, can I stay forever?" Well, that's what I said.
the rest is history, as they say.
Absolutely.
I got adopted. Yeah.
But Robbie, it's because of one of the positive things about being a smaller guy is you tend to move up in class quicker, right? You often than some of the median weight divisions, and even in your second fight. It was a 6th rounder, I believe, at your call with your, ended up being your trilogy rival, Francis Mpofo. Yeah. But there wasn't a lot of messing around and taking on journeyman. You were straight into proper competition, weren't you?
I was like, I think it was my 8th fight. I won the British title, All right, there weren't that many flyweights in Britain, but there were some pretty good fighters about, So I was always fighting sort of unbeaten fighters to start with. Like Ampufo and so on, who was unbeaten at the time I fought him.
Let me ask you. You talked about the Commonwealth Games, and you said I'd been drinking. Was you a drinker as a pro when you were off? When you were not training? Did you have one of the lads, or did you live a very clean life, or did you get ready for a fight and then relax? Get ready for a fight, relax.
Yeah,
was you always a drinker?
After a title fight, I'd have 3 weeks off, and I just drink and eat what I wanted, and you get back to training. But once I was in training, that was it. It was no drinking. It was like 2.5 months, 3 months of training before my next fight.
Was that a temptation for you?
When I first started, when you first go back to training, you do crave a pint. But once you get over that, it's easy enough. But you wish you never done it because you got so unfit after being so fit, and it is hard. It's an hard way to get back fit. I wouldn't. If I had my time again, I wouldn't have drunk as much after fights as I did.
Because Ricky Hatton really tore the arse out of it famously. Hatton would say, soon as the fight was over, he'd be right on it, the Guinness and the Dom Perignon. He would go to Tenerife or Spain with his mates. And he said he needed that release. Were you of that kind of mindset as well, Robbie?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so. I can't wait for the pub to open the next day after a fight because I was there, 12 o'clock.
What did you love?
Okay.
What did you love about it? Was
Never
it just
drank
the letting go, or was it
Yes,
the adulation, or
it's celebrating if you win. It's a release. You got 3 weeks now. You haven't got to worry about boxing or the pressure's all lifted off you when you can just enjoy yourself.
I see.
I tell you what's an interesting reality, because I've found it more and more. I know Ben has been a drinker in his life. I've been a drinker in my life. The thing is this: I started boxing very young, so most of my youth, where all my mates have started to explore girls, pubs, this. I was in the gym, I had to be in bed, I was training, so I missed out a lot, and so I would get, after fights, I'd have, like you say, 2-3 weeks. So I'd binge, I'd try and get everything I could in 3 weeks, because I know in 3 weeks I'm back in the gym. And so I got into a pattern of where binging for me was normal, because it's the only way I could do it. And my mates would say, I'm not going out. I said, come out tomorrow. No, I've got to go to work. But I've got time off. I'll be back in the gym.
I was exactly the same guy, you know. Even when I was in training, I'd go down the pub on a Saturday after my run and drink Coke all day and play pool. And then my buddies and my cousins would be going to the nightclubs and I'd be going home. You know, I just drink Coke all day and then go home. I wanted to go to the nightclub, but I knew what I had to do if I wanted to reach the top.
Yeah.
With you, Michael, you're the odd one out in this particular ensemble.
yeah, my thing was I used to have chip butties a lot.
Did you really? What, as soon as when you were out of training? Did you really?
Yeah, chip butties. Yeah.
Yeah. You got that from Liverpool.
I'd have the bread, the butter, and chips on it. Yeah, that's it.
That was your
yeah.
advice. Look, I was going to ask about the fairer sex, but I'm not going to do that because you're a happily married man.
Sorry?
I remember. Huh?
About the what?
I was going to ask you about the fairer sex in terms of between training camps.
Yeah. Well, that was.
But I'm not going to
was
ask you that
another
because
thing.
I know you're a happily married man, and sometimes that's awkward when you do a podcast in the family home and you talk about a different life.
Yeah, and if I want to stay that way, I better not answer.
Yeah, it's like that time you asked John Conte, and then somebody messaged me said he shouldn't have asked John Conte that. I was getting a private message.
I think general life that you miss out on as a young fighter, you give up a lot, and then we're humans. We try and cram it into short periods of time, and it can become an unhealthy way to live. And I think it does. It's like I'm all in. I'm either all out or I'm all in, and it's not a rational lifestyle when you're a fighter. We don't have the luxury to drink occasionally. We got a certain period of time you can have fun, and 90% of the time you cannot. So I got into an unhealthy pattern, and it stayed with me for years. I still get into training for films, and then I finish a movie and I go off. And now I've tried to just stop it all because it doesn't work anymore. Certainly not as you get older.
You know who was like that, and I never imagined he would be because it was so against his whole image and ambience. I was told Marvin Hagler was actually a party guy who would drink and indulge in certain recreational drugs when he wasn't training.
And Sugar Ray Leonard.
But I don't have any trouble believing it of Leonard. I knew it about Ray. I knew Ray's that kind of character, and he was very open about it. I was surprised to hear that Marvin was someone who was up.
That have shocked me, to be honest, Ben. But Sugar Ray was open with it, and he said, it's in his books and whatever else.
Yeah,
I think the nature of the beast to be a fighter is a certain breed. It's a certain, it's not an everyman sport, and I think it's a certain kind of breed, and I think a lot of us do extreme all in, all out, and I think it can be unhealthy. It can be great when you're all in for training, but it can be very unhealthy when you're all out for doing the other stuff. So, but again, I do think it's part of who we are. We don't do things in small measures,
Did you ever find yourself in a fight, Robbie, where you cut corners a little bit and you felt like did you regret it at any point in a championship fight?
I'll tell you one story, Ben, and this is what made my mind up. Every time I go in that ring, I'm going to be 100%. My brother got married on a Saturday, so I had a few beers, a bit more than I should have drunk, and I boxed Ampufo on a Tuesday and pinched a decision off him up in York Hall. But, I was still hungover, to be honest with you.
That was the first fight, wasn't it, champ?
Yeah, and I said that's the last time I go in a ring unless I'm 100%.
Yeah.
That made my mind up for me.
So let me ask you, Robbie. In terms of earlier, you mentioned brain scan.
Mm.
Do you have any physical repercussions from boxing? Are you experiencing any things like that?
Um, no, not really. I failed the brain scan on. They found some scar tissue,
Mhm.
which was actually there a year previous and boop, I didn't pick that up. So
Right.
I passed the brain scan a year before with the same thing wrong with my brain, and I won a world title like that.
Wow.
And
That's
Robbie,
incredible.
why, when they saw the scarring on the brain, what was the explanation, or what did they say why you had to retire? Did they give you a specific why?
They didn't give me a Pacific. I went for a second opinion straight away, and on the same day I failed the brain scan up to London, went up to Harley Street, and I think it was like 4 or 5 doctors study this, study your scan, and I think it was like 3 doctors said I could box and 2 said I couldn't. But even if one said you couldn't, that's the end of it. It's all over then.
Unanimous, yeah.
So Robbie, so give me the background then, because I don't understand. So you retired from boxing early on the words of
Yeah,
Doc-
so he won the WBO Bantamweight World Championship. Then he had to retire afterwards.
Yeah, straight after that, when I won the title, I had glandular fever, Epstein-Barr is called, it's a virus, and also John Olumo had it, and I finished John Olumo's career, so you can imagine what it done to a little guy like me. It was, you don't actually feel ill, but you try and train or do anything. Like I go out, I'd run 15 miles, no problem, but when I had this virus, I'd run to the second lamppost, and I just couldn't run anymore. I wasn't knackered, out of breath. I was just fatigued and exhausted, if you understand.
Do you know how you got it?
Not a clue. And I was
like a
feeling
flu,
bad
right?
for such a long time, and I seen so many specialists, and they was all saying there's nothing wrong with me, until about, I don't know, after I seen about the 5th doctor who specialised in foreign blood disorders. He found out exactly what was wrong with me, and it was like Epstein-Barr, glandular fever.
so it's non-communicable. It's non-communicable what it was, right? You can't.
Yeah, there's no cure for that. You just got to go on its own. That's all they advise you to, is try and have an all day and get in the hot weather. That's the only advice I got.
There's a
pick it
certain
up?
amount of like training. Like as you train, does it then
Well,
become more
I knew
prevalent?
when I was trying to train with it, and I knew there was something wrong with me, even though these doctors saying there's nothing wrong with me. But I was seeing punches come in sparring and not being able to go out the way of them. And
Wow.
I just thinking, and my trainer and someone was saying, "Oh, you're world champion." There was a lot of pressure on you. My wife was pregnant at the time. They said they thought it was all in my head as well, until it was actually proven. So I thought I was going off my rocker, but I
Robbie,
knew I was ill. I knew
Robbie,
I was ill.
to educate me and the audience, is this something like cancer? You develop it in your system, or is it an external thing that you pick up?
It's just a virus that you pick up.
So you can pick
I
it
don't
up
know.
picked it
I
up
don't
from
know the ins
someone.
and outs. I can't understand the ins and outs of it totally, God, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's just something you do pick up.
Wow.
We've
And
got
like
a
I say,
question.
it finished John Olumo's career, so a big strong bloke like I, you will understand how bad this virus is.
Yeah. There's a question. It's not quite in tune with what we're talking about, but Joe has asked, did you have a good night's sleep the night you slept in George's best bed?
Yeah, it was a bit sticky, but I had to sleep.
Was it really? Well, it must have been a seminal experience.
He was a very good friend of mine, George.
Was he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know.
Yeah,
him very
I actually drunk with George. I had a pint with George. He was doing an event in Rhondda in Wales. Him, Rodney Marsh, and Dennis Law, and I had spent the evening with him. And what a great fella! And what a
Yeah,
well,
I
a great
spent many
footballer.
years with him, and I was on the King's Road once, and he was drinking a Bucks Fizz, reading the paper, and 2 guys, 2 idiots, were trying to pick a bullshit thing with George, and I went over and I straightened it out, and then we sat and had a chat. I had a coffee. He was drinking his box fizz, and then he invited me to Blondes. It was a pub, a club. Yeah, it was like a little wine bar on Dover Street. And below Blondes was a great gym, believe it or not. He had an amazing gym, a sauna, steam room. He said, you can join the gym. We became good mates. And over the years, and of course, his son, Callum. Yeah. And then when he's a good friend of mine too. And then when Callum lived in America with his mum, Angie, when they separated, I got to know Angie very well. She was a personal trainer, great friends. I know them all for many, many, many years.
Well, that's some story out of his guy. I'm still friends because I went up to his house. Phil Hughes, who was George's manager or agent. I'm still in contact with Phil now, and he's a great guy too.
Yeah, George was a sweetheart, believe it or not. And of course, the alcohol never did him like any of us any good, but he was a very sweet, quiet man without it, you know.
Are you familiar with the legacy, Michael, of George Best?
The soccer player, right?
Yeah.
No, Georgie Best. I obviously I know of his legend, but
the word legend, yeah.
There was always a big question: who was the best or Pele? And I know a lot of people say Pele, but a lot of footballers say Best. You know, it's a very open debate.
But
Pele yourself to say George was the best.
That's what George would always say. He said Pele said I was the greatest ever, and I wouldn't want to argue with him now, would I?
I tell you what was incredible about George Best, and to this day it puts a lot of soccer players to shame. People would tackle George, they would foul him, and he would go down and get up and keep going. You couldn't keep him down. Whereas now you touch him, they do they get the off for the best dive in the world. George, he would go down and get up, go down and get. He was an animal, and so I wish the footballers today would take a leaf out of his book, because he was one of these guys. You could foul him, he'd still keep going. You know, it was incredible resilience that he had. That was amazing to watch, which is it's invisible in football today.
So Robbie, may I ask? So you don't have any boxing ailments? Do you still work out at all?
No, to be honest with you, I don't know my training. To be honest with you, the gym don't interest me no more. No. I like to have a sauna. I go for a sauna, and I enjoy a sauna.
Outside of boxing, Robbie, do you have things that you like? Like, are you a fisherman, or are you? I know you live in South Wales.
I know, like a game of pool, but that's about it, really.
So you like
most of your homebody.
Game of pool, have a couple of pints. That's your leisure time.
Yeah. You know, it's some good teams, local teams around here, and I'm big friends with a lot of and he got some great players, you know.
And in your boxing career, what was obviously it got cut short. Before that happened, you won the WBO title. Did you have your first defense lined up? And again, actually, I done press conferences for a couple of defenses against the same boy, but I had to keep pulling out because they had this bloody virus against Drew Doherty. And then the mandatory come around, and that's when I failed the brain scan. I mean, Julio, I just done a press conference with him. He flew over from Colombia, and I failed the brain scan. And fair play to Julio. You know, obviously he put a lot of months training in for this fight. And the first thing come out of his mouth was he just said, "I hope the government will look after Robbie, because they would do in my country."
How frustrated were you when you were told you couldn't fight anymore?
Oh, it just broke my heart. I lost the plot for a long time. You know,
what did that mean to your career, and what did it mean to your life outside of boxing?
Yeah, like I said, it's just your worst nightmare come true, and I fell off the rails for a long time. I had to drink. I was like self-medicating, you know, just drinking just to forget.
Yeah.
What was the turning point, Robbie? How did you turn it around? Well, what point did you say enough is enough?
I got divorced. It cost me my marriage. And I just thought it's got to stop. It's got to stop.
And you have kids as well at the time when you got divorced?
Yeah, I got 4 children with my ex-wife, and I got another 2 boys now.
Wow. Did you get help, or did you say I'm done?
Well, back in them days, you know, there was no real help there for you. I mean, today, thank God, it's changed, and there is help out there for sportsmen. And what happened to me, if it happens to them, there are places and people who will help you.
If you could do it over again, that exact point we're just discussing right now, what would you do different? Do you think there's anything you could have done different?
Yeah, if it was available, I'd have got myself some counselling or try to find some help. That's what I had to do for my own mentality.
Yeah, because as a man, as boxers and as men, it's very hard to like find somebody you can talk to or somebody that'll even listen.
Yeah,
and go and it's not like we had psychotherapists in those days that that would kind of lend an ear to that. It wasn't fashionable, and especially not as a fighter as well. You're dealing with that. You feel it affected your relationship with your children as well, I guess.
Yeah, it did. It absolutely did. Like I'm involved now. I'm one of the ambassadors for Ringside Charitable Trust.
Yeah.
We're helping ex-boxers who've either been injured or just going through an hard time in life. So,
Yeah.
you know, and they're doing a great job. And there was only one promoter who actually got behind Ringside. That's Ben Shalom. I think I pronounced that.
Shalom, a boxer.
Yeah.
I believe Warren and Hearn have yet to really back it or really.
None of them. None of the big time promoters have they just ignoring Ringside, and it's absolutely. I think it's disgraceful because a lot of these ex-champions, ex-pros are the reason why these promoters got wealthy bank accounts, and and they just turn their backs on them. I think it's disgrace.
Yes, you're 100% right. This is something that goes on in boxing. As soon as the boxers, their value, their worth is not the same, they absolutely just turn their back on them. They don't. They can't. Boxers have the hardest time.
Robbie, Robbie, if you could tell our audience a little bit about. I know you're trying to put together a house, right, with like a 40-bedroom house or something to house fighters who are in need with special care. And if you could tell them a little bit about this organization, and hopefully Ben could put a link that if people do want to help, or maybe we could put something on that people can donate or do something. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you guys do?
Yeah, what are you looking to do at the moment? They're trying to find a building where at Canals maybe 36 plus of ex-fighters and champions who are in need of help, with it, not just health, but who just fallen on very difficult times. They got a page on Facebook for anybody who'd like to help out or donate whatever they can. It'd be greatly appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that Facebook page called?
It's Ringside Charitable Trust.
Yeah,
Ringside
Charitable Trust.
Charitable Trust.
We
go to it.
They've invited me to a show now. Dave Westgarth is promoting it up in Middlesbrough.
Dave Westgarth was former heavyweight.
We'd be raising money for Ringside at this show. I think Ben Shalom have added a £1 on each show he puts on the ticket, so that will go to Ringside. And it would be nice to see that these other promoters follow suit.
Yeah. Can I ask you, Robbie, what's a better name, Ben Shalom or
Ben will tell you. Ben, did I pronounce it right?
Sorry, B-E-N, right? Ben Shalom.
Yeah, Ben Shalom. I think I pronounced
Ben
Shalom
or
right.
Ben Dowdy. Which one?
Which one's the better name? What the sound of it?
Yeah. Which one? Which one makes you feel better when you hear Ben Shalom or Ben Dowdy?
His question.
I don't understand your question, sir.
He's just being.
You guys don't need to.
It's okay. And then Robbie's thinking, what am I supposed to do here? I'm on the show with Ben, so I'll be snubbing him if I say Shalom. And then if I say Ben Doughty, I'm going to snub Ben Shalom, who's been really, decent and charitable with our,
Yeah.
I like putting him in. Fighters do good fighting off the ropes, and I've seen him fight off the ropes. He's great.
Well, Michael, the fight that you liked, I showed you some of his fights so you can get up to speed with who our special guest was tonight. And you
Yes.
looked at the Danny Porter fight, the fight that Robbie won in 3 rounds,
Yes.
90s, and you said, "Wow, that was impressive." That was the one fight, particular performance you were impressed with. I know.
Yeah, I really like that. And one of the things I liked about it, Robbie, which a lot of fighters like, today's style has really changed. It's like you came in with a bounce, like a natural bounce, and you're bouncing you in and out. You're working your legs, your brain's working, your hands are moving simultaneously. Have you noticed that trend? Like fighters have sort of gotten away from that?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, with the Danny Porter fight, they just thought I was going to just box him and stay away from him. But I went, as soon as the bell went, I went straight at him, and that because Danny Porter said, this fight will be over in 3 rounds. He came up to the crowd and he was showing them 3 fingers for 3 rounds. Well, he had the round right, just the wrong corner.
Yeah, the wrong way. That is sweet.
Who of today's fighters are you big on?
I like Better Weave, if I pronounce it right. Bivol, outstanding champion. There's some great fighters in today. But I don't, this, but the heavyweight division to me is come a bit of a farce at the minute, to be honest with you.
Well,
Thank you. That's exactly what I say. I try to convince Ben of that all the time.
But the thing is, you don't have it. So, all right, since you want to drive that one, you don't have any opposition for me on that. You don't have any opposition for me, the heavyweight division. Since when have I asked anybody who knows me and the brand I've established on social media for the last 15 years, since when have I ever stood up for heavyweight? The heavyweight.
I've always gotten the impression that you and the big guy, Tyson Fury.
I think you've got to give him props that he's a winner and that he finds a way to win. And
he finds a way to win, but I believe he's finding a way to win over guys that aren't very,
I think that the Ngannou
I got to agree with Michael on that. I'll agree with Michael on that.
I think the Ngannou fight has hurt his credibility a little bit, but I think anyone can have a bad night. So I'm not. I think Tyson Fury, honestly, as much as you may say, Michael, I think he gives any heavyweight of any era problems. I really do. I'm a friend of Lennox Lewis since I'm a kid, since I'm a young boxer. We trained together. Like I've only seen Joshua fight Usyk, but I couldn't imagine what Lennox would do to Usyk. That would not be a close fight.
I don't think Lennox and Tyson Fury would be a competitive fight at all. I don't. I just think the way Lennox Lewis can let go of his hands. He throws complex combinations. He throws them with power and accuracy, and he has the defensive attributes that you're looking for. And he does. I don't think he would get hit with. Fury just doesn't seem to have that same snap in that. It's hard to say exactly what is that dexterity, that ability to throw in combination. He'll throw one at a time, and he'll do a lot of shucking and jiving. He's like smoke and mirrors. You know what I mean? And it's almost like he gets over on the fact that he hears. Oh, look at it like this. His opponent says, "Okay, I know right hands hurt." Not necessarily his right hand is going to hurt, but he knows that right hand. So when he fakes, they go for the fake because they've been hit by other people before. There are fighters like when you get guys like Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield and Tyson and whatever, they're like, you have to prove that to me. You have to prove it to me that you hit like that. I'm not believing all these other guys that have done it. I need to believe you can do it to me. So you're going in there in a fight with them, like everything, it's a clean slate, and you have to prove to them that you hit hard and that you're consistent and that you can take it. They're not giving it to you. Like today, the fighters, they give it to you. They say, okay, you must hit hard because you're 7 foot and you're.
What's very sad is this. This is the old statement they all say: styles make fights, and nothing can be more true when you look at. If you look at Joseph Parker, who I'm a massive fan to believe in. I think he's the most improved heavyweight of most of them. And people think he's, every time he's had a big test, he's lost. But I think he's got better and better. But his relative easy fight against Wilder, and then you look at Fury's wars with Wilder, that says it doesn't make sense that he beats him in such an easy fashion, and Fury truly struggled with Wilder. But
second time he didn't actually. He walked through him the second time, but the other two were wars.
Yeah, but it just shows, like, when you think of, people's opinion of Parker were not that great, but he did an incredibly, probably a better, easier job than Fury. Did Fury end Wilder's career? Possibly.
Maybe.
Did he take everything out of him? Possibly. But it just shows what's sad for me, though, and it bothers me, is that, Fury can have he was a legend and he's the greatest, and then he has a silly fight with Ngannou and now everyone's down on him.
Michael wasn't up on him before, to be fair.
I'm sure, but you are seemingly your last fight, and I think that's sad. I think you can't negate some of the great victories he's had, and but again, it's your last fight, Mark. Sure, it's one of the few professions that you have 1 or 2 losses in it, and people want you to retire.
I think that's why they got the AJ now fighting them, because I think they think that AJ is going to do a far better job on him, so it'll be affecting AJ's cap.
It builds the narrative that they want to build for assuming that Fury beats Usyk, let's say, will be the best result for that narrative, and then they can put Fury Joshua on, and they've reignited the interest in that fight then.
And Usyk definitely has the best skills in the division, if that's a thing.
I think so.
The best
skills. He does.
All round ability, I think Usyk is far better than them all.
Yes.
I did not. I tell you what, I questioned his balls in the Daniel Dubois fight. He showed a lot of clean. I was so up on him. I loved his.
But he didn't get hit in the balls, though.
It reminded me of the Mad Irishman in Braveheart. Ireland. It's mine. And then when I saw him rolling round, and then there wasn't only that. Like 4 or 5 times he complained about low blows to the ref. Like I got hit in the balls so many times. I never complained in my life. He constantly was complaining. I don't like fighters who complain about anything. I just saw some things I didn't like, and
I hear that. I think it revealed some frailties, perhaps, in Usyk.
So you don't think he was as hurt as much as he made out then when he went down?
Oh no, I think the definitive punch that when he went down, if it was low, it certainly wasn't in the balls. But what bothered me was before that, there were 4 or 5 occasions he was complaining. He was a little uncomfortable with Dubois for a while. Dubois held his own somewhat until the knockdown, and then Dubois seemed to just deflate when Usyk got up after 4 minutes, whatever, the fight went on. Dubois thought, I've won it, now I've lost it. And then he just kind of quit for me. And but before that, with the adrenaline, with the hype, he put up a great fight. And in that process, Usyk was not comfortable for a while. And in the discomfort, he complained a lot. And I didn't like that. It's like, I don't like fighters who complain. So for me, it was, and I was so big on Usyk. I thought, why you keep complaining? Why you just fucking fight?
I think Daniel came out of that fight, with a lot more positives and negatives, to be honest with him.
Yeah, I think he just got his heart broke when all of a sudden he thought he had it won, it didn't win. And then I think his brain isn't that as fast as it should be. And I think he was trying to process what was going on. And while he was trying to process what was going on, he got the fight taken away from him.
But Dubois rebounded well against Baby Miller on the supercard.
Dubois was amazing. But again, he's one of these guys, you wind him up, put him in a straight line and tell him to do it, and he does it. When things get complicated, he seems to
can't figure it out himself.
Can't figure it out.
Do you know what Martin Bowers, his trainer, said? His former trainer, Martin
He cannot ad lib.
Say again? What?
He cannot ad lib. He can't think on his feet.
Exactly, yeah. So, but you know what Martin Bowers said? He was talking about, you said about you wind him up and point him in the direction. He said, even if it was his nan in the other corner and you told him to go and get her, he would do it.
Yeah.
That's what he said. So that kind of mirrors what
he has like a childlike innocence, and I think if he loves his straight, they'll tell him. But once the plan changes, I think he doesn't adjust well.
Yeah. He runs out of ideas,
I'm sorry?
He runs out of ideas.
When it's not going where he thought he was going to go, or he goes off track, he doesn't ad I did well, and I think Usyk took advantage of that and the fight's history. But with the Baby Miller thing, there was no real change in the fight. It was what it was, and he stuck to the plan, and he was victorious.
Yeah,
Well, I said to them, you know, you got your A plan, and then if that's not working, you got to go to plan B or plan C.
So
But,
Robbie, Robbie, may I ask you, did you have a ritual going into a fight, and did you have to set like a mental attitude going into the fight, or do you just have that natural bellicosity kind of thing, like that warrior spirit, or did you have to
you know, I just take each fight as it comes. You know, obviously when you're fighting for world titles is added pressure, but you know, I just stuck to whatever I'd done before fights. And
so mentally, like, do you have that kind of like animosity that runs in you that fighters need to win? Or did you have to, like, is there something you had to do in order to turn that on?
well, obviously, you know, you go in there to win, and if you win in quick style, you know, you aren't going to do the overtime. But you know, like 99% fighters, you don't go in our ring to wanting to hurt someone bad, you know. But you want to win.
So
fight.
do you have like a short? Do you have a short fuse in life, basically? Or do you anger easily? Do you anything like that? No.
Nah, I let everything go over my head, to be honest with you.
Robbie, let me ask you something. Prior to your career being ended due to scar tissue being found on the brain, right?
Yeah.
Did you, throughout your career, were there times you felt you were hurt or damaged? Did you ever feel like you took punishment over the years?
Nah, never. You know, and you know, I never took that much punishment, to be honest with you. You know, even sparring. You know,
any concussions over the years?
Nah, nothing like that. The biggest thing that hit me was that virus.
The virus is the worst thing, yeah. But the scar tissue was nothing you was aware of.
No, didn't know nothing about it at all. And like I said, I won the world title with the same problems on my brain the year before, and I won the world title carrying that.
So in essence, you think it wasn't the scar tissue that retired you; it was the virus, right?
Yeah, I absolutely 200%.
Yeah.
The virus finished me.
So it wasn't like maybe headers. You played a lot of soccer.
No, and you know, even today, I just think am I still carrying a bit of that virus, even though it's 20 odd years ago.
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel down, and I think, I don't know. It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
And have you educated yourself on this virus now? Do you know a lot about it?
And I haven't looked deep into it. I mean, when I found that I had it, my specialist was in contact with Lumo specialist to get ideas how to cure it or how to get rid of it as quickly as possible. But there's no cure for it. It's just got to leave on its own.
So interesting then. What's the hardest? Do you remember what's the hardest you've been hit?
Yeah, that's without a doubt by Alberto Jimenez. He's a phenomenal puncher.
Yeah, and he hit you. And what happened in that fight?
Well, I didn't go down. I got pulled out in the 9th round, and the first 5 rounds. I mean, I had 2 operations on my arm before the fight, so I couldn't spar. Then I had to pull out. So for him to wait, he wanted 10 grand out of my purse money for him to wait. So the fight come around then, and then he pulled out. But I said, that's all right. But I ain't giving him my 10 grand now, because I got to wait for him. And then that was all agreed. And then come the day of the fight, they were still taking our 10 grand off me. And I found out on the day of the fight. And that is not the preparation you want going into a world title fight. That's the first time I didn't want to be in the ring. My head was a mess.
Yeah. But then did he hit you with something and it hurt? Did you get hurt?
He was a massive puncher in any case, but you know, he was very clever. He could sidestep and unload, and then you do it to the body, and you would turn, and when you turn, all your muscles relax, and he did the underneath again. So he's very clever like that, and I learned a lot off that fight.
And have you been knocked down?
No, I'm the only Welsh world champion who never hit the canvas.
Wow.
And Robbie,
every other Welsh world champion hit the canvas.
Robbie, just for us and the public, 10 grand's a lot of money. In them days, world title, what was the kind of purse for that kind of fight?
Well, I was a quarter of my purse.
Yeah, there you go, 40 grand.
40 grand, see? It's a big,
Wow.
big hit going in.
It's
Yeah.
25%, yeah. God.
Yeah. No, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? We mentioned
And I don't believe that Alberto Jimenez demanded. I think he just wanted to take our 10 grand and keep it.
Well, that happens a lot, doesn't it, Robbie? And you can talk to Sue, Gary, and no doubt the Silk's got his stories.
There was no evidence. There was no evidence for a new contract that he wanted this 10 grand.
Yeah.
Have you got your finger in the camera,
You've
Robbie?
got your finger in the camera,
Oh,
mate.
sorry.
Yeah, let's keep this. There we go.
There you go. Yeah, no.
Ben, he was just making a point.
Yeah.
No, people don't realize it, and it's a massive thing, and it goes on today. It's gone on since the beginning of time. Is that the politics and the business side of boxing
People
is
steal fighters'
so
money.
corrupt, and the people who suffer are the
It's
guys who do the job.
like
There's
to
no
get the-
profession in the world where when you go to work, someone else makes more money.
To get the rematch with Francis Bufo in it back in Cardiff, I had to take peanuts for that fight, right? But the fight was always coming to Cardiff in any case, because Barry that was going to be the biggest sellout crowd. So that fight was always coming to Cardiff. But they used that against me, not to pay me as much as I should have got paid.
Yeah, and that was the second fight where you got the cut because of the headbutt, right?
Yeah.
Because Abid Ali was asking that question several comments back. He said, "I'm trying to remember which fight Robbie had where there was a headbutt and the fight was stopped as a result of it." There it is. See,
He butted me 5 times, and the referee and Mickey Van, he put in his autobiography. I remember refereeing Robbie and Francis. He said, "I'm glad Francis won because he's a nice boy." He said, "But I suppose in a cold light of day, I suppose it was harsh on Regan." Well, to me, that's admitting he robbed me. He should have chucked him out. He butted me 5 times in a round.
I get the impression, because I interviewed Francis Mpofo once on Facebook Live, just after I interviewed you the first time, and I get the impression there's a bit of a resentment there. He's not your favourite person. I get the impression.
No, it's a long time ago. I don't know grudges. I went on to achieve my dreams, so I got no grudges.
Yeah, and you're both great guys as well.
Thank you, Ben.
So, Robbie, I have a question for you. If you could take yourself back to any moment in your boxing career, would you go back to the time would you go back to the best time when it was great, or would you go back to a bad time and correct it?
I would go back to the times I made decisions, and I would change the decisions, on certain things.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So you go back to a more difficult time and correct it, rather than go back to a good time and enjoy it.
Yeah. Make different decisions. I wouldn't have, certain things I wouldn't have done, and I would have changed that.
Do you have any examples of any of those decisions?
I'm giving up my European title to fight James Windlala in the summer in Wales for the world title. And then 3 weeks before the fight, it was changed to South Africa. And I was getting the same money. I said, stick South Africa. I said, I'll wait for the Mandry challenge, the Mandry date to come around, because I was #1 contender. Yeah. And then I beat that guy, Adrian Ochoa, who was Argentinian champion at the time. And beating him, I got dropped from #1 to #2.
Wow.
There's no logic or rhyme or reason to the sanction.
Not in boxing. No, logic doesn't exist.
I mean, the contract they had then with Barry and would stand up in any court, and somehow the contract went missing.
Wow.
I have the same issue with the same people.
Yeah.
I never got paid for the Eubanks fight, and I sent an email. Can you send me a invoice just showing where the money went and who you paid? And they said it was too long ago. We've no longer got the records on.
And you know, Michael, there's an interview with Gary, a big feature in Boxing News, the very prestigious British boxing trade paper in this country, and they've got this whole expensive interview with Gary, but Gary doesn't remember doing an interview, and he's never heard of the writer. And what we think has happened is they took our podcast when we first did one with Gary, and they've just transcribed that rather artfully and put it in Boxing News. That's the way it looks, anyway.
Yes,
That don't surprise me. That don't surprise
Cover.
me at all.
And then a huge feature inside, and someone called me and said, I said, I don't recall doing
Well,
this.
God, you would know if you've done an interview with someone, wouldn't you? You would know.
Well,
So.
yeah, I mean, I just had this movie that's just been re-released after 20 years, so I had some interviews, but it was all about a movie, Dead Man's Shoes, which I did many interviews. But yeah, boxing news is new for me.
Took you by surprise, didn't it?
A little bit,
And
yeah.
it's very much
Boxing news is an esteemed.
Yeah, and they pulled pictures off
Facebook and all
of
sorts.
current pictures of yeah. So it's not like they did a photo shoot
Yeah,
or
yeah.
What a
Skull
liberty!
Duggery
Huh?
is a foot, Michael.
Yeah.
unless I
Sorry.
did some no recollection, but I don't.
That's possible. That is possible.
Possibly, but not likely. But yeah, it was a surprise on this week's boxing news. But it's a very positive article, so I'm very grateful.
It's all good.
They just said, "Why are you partnered up with Michael Olajuwon?" And I said, "He has bad sound on his film. He always late."
We told him had to do box tickets, like an ethnic inclusion thing.
I said, "I have to give some back, so I have to be with Mike." No, I adore Michael Olajuwon. He's my the reason
and the adoration is mutual. That's for sure.
No, really, I think I loved you as a boxer. I really did.
It come up on my Facebook the other day, a memory from about 10 years ago, and I put a picture of Michael, and the question was to my audience, who was your favourite fighter who never won a world title? So I must have been saying it was him back then, 10 years ago.
Oh, man. Wow.
When we didn't know each other.
There was many of us,
yeah. The 9th round against Tommy Hearn should have won 5 world titles.
Man.
But look at the
You're
draw.
too kind. Is it my birthday? This is about Robbie. Robbie, I wanted to ask you, you had a 33% KO percentage, right?
Yeah.
But it seems to me when I look at you, you are a much better puncher than that. What was that about?
I felt I had more power when I went up in weight. I went up to bantamweight. I should have gone up 2 years before, at least 2 years before. It was killing me making flyweight. I mean, I dry out 2 pounds overnight to make the weight, but I still had to do that when I went up to bantamweight. So you could imagine how much that was killing me making flyweight.
You know what I think? I think that what's under talked about in the game is that I think the weight is a bigger killer than the punching. I think that obviously brain damage is an issue, but with football, but when we get down to weight and we get depleted and our immune gets dropped and we're literally walking, dead man walking, I think that's when you pick up viruses. That's when you pick up things that you would normally.
I got to agree with that guy. I totally agree with that, my friend. And I think they got the weigh in now the day before the fight. And I think that's getting fighters to think they can make weight so they cannot make in reality.
Did you hear about Devin Haney, Robbie? When he supposedly weighs in at 140 for his most recent outing against Regis Prograis, and he was in the ring at 165. Yeah, so he's a super middleweight in that ring, man.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Unbelievable.
25 pounds. Gain.
You know, I put on maybe 4 or 5 pounds most after the weigh-in. That's tops. But for him to put all that weight on back on, that's crazy. That's unbelievable.
Do you think there should be same-day weigh-ins, Robbie, or do you think
absolutely.
They do it now?
Yeah, I believe it should be the same day weigh-in as the fight. Yeah, definitely.
Most fighters don't agree with that, do they? So most fighters,
like I said, it's getting fighters to make. You know, they think they can make weight, so they can't really make because they got that 24 hours to put the fluids back in them. But I think it's more damaging, to be honest with you.
Do you think that same day weigh-in as the fight would stop people cutting so much, right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you on that one, Silk? Are you saying it would be better, the lesser of two evils, to go back to the old practice?
Oh, I've always been that way. The weigh-in should be the day of the fight. Absolutely.
Because some fighters, you know, Silk, some fighters, even like Montel Griffin's level, they go, no, it's too dangerous. Same day. But it's only dangerous if you're not being true about and being genuine.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And they're giving them 24 hours purposely so they can put that weight back on.
Yeah.
It's not fair to the fighter that really is a middleweight. Let's just say it's 160 and the guy's coming down from 175 to make 160, you know, and he can do it and then replenish all his fluids with, you know,
tomorrow.
I mean, boxing was established like this. You get even before what we did today, which is weighing in the morning and then the fight in the evening. It used to be you weigh in, then you directly fight. You know what I mean? I remember amateurs were like that too. You'd weigh in, and then like an hour or two later, whatever it was, you get in the ring and you fight. That was your weight division, and
The
that's
sad
why-
thing is the uneducated minds of boxers who think they can replenish. They say the body replenishes to a degree, but the brain 60 hours before it starts to get the fluid again. So the body may be rehydrated, but the brain's dry, and that's where the damage starts to occur because the brain doesn't work in 24 hours. That's not going to happen. There's a lot of damage gets done that people don't have a clue about.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Ben,
I think we're on that verge of that time. Just to recap, that Robbie Regan picked Better Behave, as did myself and Michael Sukalajide. It's only Gary who's rolling with Smith. You like the underdog, you like the upset.
It's an educated risk for me.
But Robbie, it's been always a pleasure to have an audience with you again, sir.
Can I just give a mention, Ben? We buried a friend of mine yesterday. He was a former amateur judge and referee, a boxing man, Chris Turley, and a great friend of mine. So I like to dedicate tonight's show to him. A lot of the boxing fraternity turned up for him yesterday. There was 4 world champions there, myself, Nathan Cleverly, Gavin Rees, and Lee Selby. Was there, showed their respect. So, a so respected man and a great guy, and he will be greatly missed, Mr. Chris Turley.
Our thoughts and condolences go out to his loved ones, and I don't doubt he was a fantastic boxing man. But Robbie, thank you so much for giving us this audience.
Thank you, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you all. I'm gonna go off here and I'm gonna watch Dead Man's Shoes.
Robbie, and also I'm gonna post on my Facebook, and again I say to the audience that's watching to check out your page. Check out the page and to support what you're doing, because it's an incredible thing that should have been done a long time ago, and still even the big boys are not catching on. You got to push people to help these fighters who have lined so many people's pockets.
Gary, that's amazing. Thank you, my friend.
Well, thank you for your service, Robbie. Thank you for your service.
It's great speaking to you.
Thank you, guys. Listen, thank you for those of you who tuned in live, who are supporting the channel.
Hopefully we catch up soon.
Yes, we will.
Maybe at one of the boxing shows, yeah?
Absolutely, sir. Okay. We look forward to it. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back on Sunday night to see who got it right and who got it wrong.
But Ben, you need to give us the records. You're signing off without what's Gary's record?
Honestly, seriously, don't do this. I'll wrap it up. We'll do it on Sunday. I can't even remember right now. I haven't gotten written in front of me. There is an art to this broadcasting thing, and he hasn't got it. See, I can't do anything slick with the silk in the house.
He was really doing nice clothes in them silk.
Yeah, you understand that. It's like he is like the truculent teenager in class, talented, intelligent, but an underachiever who wears his blazer deliberately askew. And
there's something else I wanted.
And he just sits there looking at the wall.
I don't know what truculent means, but if it's good, I'm that.
Yeah, and then look what he's achieved now. Look at the end of this show. Guys, we still think, as chaotic as it is, we still think it's the best boxing podcast in the world.
Ben, can I just give a mention that I am doing nights throughout Wales now? And next night, an evening with me is in the boxing historical town of Merthyr Football Club on February the 23rd. So it's always great going to Merthyr with boxing history. The greats Howard Winston, Ken Buchanan, who trained out of Merthyr. Wow. Johnny Owen and Eddie Thomas. So that's the 23rd of February is my next an evening with me for anybody who would like to join us at Merthyr Football Club.
Because I want to go to Merthyr. I've never been.
Come on down, Ben. It'd be great to have you as a guest.
Thank you. All right, we'll look to that. I'll talk to you. I'll inbox you. Thanks, Robbie.
On that note, Ben will just close the show. Michael, allow it.
Yeah. Well, look at what you would have missed. Look at what you would have missed if I wouldn't have, so rudely interrupted.